I joined the Million Veteran Program in order to ensure that veterans like myself get the absolute best care possible.
I joined the MVP program to help medical advancements for veterans that look like me.
To ensure that no veteran ever had to die from an unknown disease.
I joined MVP because I still want to be part of something bigger than myself.
To help advance and improve the care for veterans today and in the future, which very well could be my children's.
Might not help me, might not help my friends, but it'll help the next generation.
My why for MVP is every veteran.
You are our why.
You are our why. The veterans are our why.
You are our why.
To each and every veteran in MVP, you are our why.
Please visit Exceptional Parent Magazine and sign up for free at epmagazine.com to get your free monthly magazine with a new U.S. military section. Also, please make sure to visit Exceptional Parent Mag on Facebook and EPMZINE on X or Instagram.
Hello and welcome again to Oscar Mike Radio. My name is Travis. I'm your host. Oscar Mike Radio is part of the Hubazoo Network. You can find out more on hubazoo.com. I want to thank my sponsors, Joyce Asack of Asack Real Estate, Army National Guard veteran Mark Holmes of Reapers Detailing and Power Washing, and my supporters, all veteran-owned businesses, Cason Shaving Company, Black Cat Designs, and Savage American Woodwork. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, it's December. Today is December 7th when we drop this. It's Pearl Harbor Day, but it's also a big push in the United States for Wreaths Across America. And, you know, this month is about what Wreaths Across America is and what they do. And I had the pleasure of talking to someone who's heavily involved with Wreaths Across America. He's a mayor. He's a lot of things, but I am pleased to welcome Bryon Wiebold to Oscar Mike Radio. Sir, welcome.
Thank you, Travis. It's good to be with you.
So I love the aspect of talking to civilians like yourself who did not serve. You told me you didn't serve,
right,
but want to be involved with, you know, military and veterans causes and support people and organizations like Wreaths Across America Radio. Before we get into all that, though, who is Bryon Wiebold? You know, how do you go from being a mayor to being involved with Wreaths Across America? What's it like being in Texas for, you know, my people here in the Northeast? And I love the state of Texas, by the way.
Right.
You know, who are you?
Sure. Well, I'm a mayor of Farmersville, Texas. And the funny thing about that, Travis, is I'm the last person who would ever want to be mayor of anything. But we are a small town. We moved here in 2014, and there was around 3,000 people. We're almost double that now. And we're the last open area in Collin County, which is the second fastest growing county in the nation. We have highways that intersect our town right across a lake, beautiful. And it is called Farmersville. So that's what we're known for. We were once the onion capital of the United States back in the 1920s. We're actually celebrating our 150th year this year, our sesquicentennial. But I became mayor, but I also, my day job, that's a volunteer gig as mayor. But my day job is I work in trucking with a company called Tenstreet.
Okay.
And we're the leading driver management platform in trucking. So we've got about a little over 5,000 carrier customers that engage us and our software to help them find drivers, manage their drivers, safety and compliance, anything that has to do with a driver. And so my worlds sort of collided when Tenstreet began a couple of years ago, really heavily sponsoring Wreaths Across America. And then also we do our Veterans Ready Summit each December, where we bring in carriers to teach them how to hire veterans in their their carriers. So we do that a 3 days before the Wreaths Across America banquet, and we sponsor the banquet along with Fastport, and then go out to Arlington for the wreath laying ceremony there. But Farmersville is a home of Audie Murphy, which is the most decorated combat soldier in U.S. history. And so you don't have to go very far in Farmersville to find somebody that has a great love and honor for the military. So being mayor of that town, of course, we have Audie Murphy Day. We bring a couple 250 veterans every Audie Murphy Day in June and honor them. And so once I discovered Wreaths Across America through Tenstreet, just love what they do. And our company is sponsoring that. And then I thought, well, how can we as a city be more involved? And so we have a wonderful lady. Her name is Billy Goldstein. She is a go-getter, and her father served in World War II. She's a Gold Star family. And once she found out about it, we had Farmersville last year have Wreaths Across America for the first time. And since then, we just continue to do it. We had Wreaths Across America come in with their mobile exhibit. They're going to come back for Audie Murphy Day. Anything we can do to help, whether it's city, and Farmersville is actually the official radio, Wreaths Across America Radio is the official radio station of Farmersville, Texas. So we make that proclamation. And so we just love the military. Now, my father served as a merchant marine. He was the only son in his family, so he had to stay home, but he did serve as a merchant marine, and he had a great love and instilled respect and honor for first responders and military in my upbringing. So, but we greatly appreciate all that the veterans do, and we greatly appreciate what Wreaths Across America does to honor them.
So let's talk about some of the logistics side of what Wreaths Across America does and Tenstreet, because It's my understanding that it's in Maine. I actually know where it is in Maine. It's like an hour away from where my son lives. Mm-hmm. And they have all these trucks come up to Maine to load the wreaths up, and then the trucks leave to go down to Washington, D.C. and other places. And I'm like, on a good day, trucks roll across this country, and if they get to the place on time, that's great. But these are all volunteers. So my question is, how does Tenstreet, not only for something like this, but also just in day-to-day trucking business, work? Because I got to tell you honestly, Bryon, a lot of people just think that truck drivers get in trucks, they pick up stuff, they drop it off, and that's it. And that is a far cry from what actually happens, I'd have to think.
Well, let's just keep it in context to Wreaths Across America. Sure. So they've got over 4,000 locations in the U.S. now.
All right.
So those wreaths have to get pretty much to every state and to various locations in each state. And so the logistics just behind, number one, getting companies to volunteer, which I can say the majority of the companies that do volunteer are also Tenstreet customers. And we take great joy in that our customer base is heavily involved. Matter of fact, the gentleman that delivered for us last year, their company CFI is a customer of Tenstreet. And so I got to see a driver that was hired through Tenstreet for that company. So the logistics just behind getting people to volunteer, getting those routes established. Now, trucking companies do this all day, every day, can do it in their sleep, right? But it's still a lot of harrowing work to make sure that all the wreaths get to where they need to go and everything's on time. And so it is just a huge concerted effort. And what you're talking about in Maine is the actual convoy, which goes from Maine down to DC. And I've been on the tail end of that, where I've seen them come into town. And I'm hopefully in the next year or two, we're going to try to go up to the top end of that in Maine and start and follow the convoy down. I hear that in and of itself is an incredible experience. But yeah, in my mind, first responders, military people in trucking are right up there, because they are heroes. And this company I mean, this country would not be in the shape that we're in without, truckers doing what they do and carriers doing what they do. If you got it on your table in your house, the truck brought it, right? So we honor and respect that as well. And it's amazing what they do day in and day out.
Well, just another logistical question, because I'm thinking to myself, well, it's getting ready to dump snow in Maine this weekend, I think, right?
Right.
How does your company or a company like Tenstreet then adjust the trucks about where to go, what route to take, so they can continue moving the freight as safely as possible? Because, I've been down I-95 when snow hits, and it gets scary quick. People don't understand. Maine is not a friendly place to drive when it snows, but how's that managed?
Yeah. Well, so what Tenstreet does is basically we provide a driver management platform.
Okay.
So what we focus on is hiring the driver. We have an application that comes back pre-populated with drivers' work history, so drivers can fill out a DOT compliant application in 5 minutes on the app on their phone. And then we convert from paper management over to digital. So safety compliance, onboarding once they get hired, rewards, retention, anything. We integrate with telematics units to bring in the feeds into our platform. So we're a one-stop shop driver management platform for carriers. The logistics side, we don't really touch. That's done by the carrier, right?
Okay.
And that's part of being a trucking company, is managing those logistics and getting things where they need to be on time. I will say this, years ago, different lifetime ago, Travis, I was selling manufacturing execution software to pulp and paper, cement and mining in Canada and the US. And I actually went to Maine to a pulp and paper mill, and I was amazed. It was snowing, and I was amazed at how pristine the highways were. There's like 7-8 feet of snow, just like a wall. It's like you're in a chute.
Right.
And I'm sitting there like, you could eat off this highway. I was just so impressed with, of course, they get, we don't do that here in Texas. Like, it snows, you stay home, or they put sand. And I'm like, why are you putting sand on the road? But yeah, no, these are professional people, and they're able to get things planned and get it where it needs to be on time and in a safe manner. I have a newfound respect. This is my 6th year working in trucking, and I have a newfound respect. The only professional drivers on the road are not people in personal vehicles. There's those drivers behind those rigs, those tractors, right? And those are the professional drivers. And so one of the things that we do here in Farmersville is we start in high school, junior high school, start training about trucking, and we start training about how to drive alongside of a truck and give them that respect they need to stay safe. So, but it's an amazing thing how they pull this off every year. And the thing about Wreaths Across America and trucking is there's really a strong partnership there. And as you mentioned, everything is volunteerism from a trucking. So they're paying the driver, they're paying for the fuel and the equipment to get the wreaths to where they need to be. But when you get to Arlington, and you see all the trucks lined up through Arlington Cemetery, and they open up that back of that trailer, and those boxes of wreaths start coming out. But then also, you get them delivered to your hometown, and it's your hometown people working with a carrier to get the wreaths off and get them stored for the event coming up. Both of them are extremely special, and it's just incredible to be involved in the trucking industry in that way.
Now, one thing you mentioned is that Tenstreet works to hire veterans. And it's funny you mentioned that, because I had a sergeant that I served under in my Hawk battery that became a professional trucker, and it really changed his life.
Yeah.
What is it about the trucking industry and what you do that really is open to veterans? Why are veterans attracted to becoming a truck driver?
They're the perfect candidate.
Yeah.
To be in trucking, whether they're driving or logistics. And so we started years ago at Tenstreet working towards where we are now, where we have a number of partners so there's different providers, different agencies that work to translate the experience that someone has as a veteran in the military over to civilian life, into trucking and other industries, to make sense of why, as far as experience, they need to be hired. But when you hire a veteran, they're going to show up. They're going to be responsible. They're disciplined enough to show up. And Travis, that's a big one. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a big deal. But then they're also detailed. They understand rank and file. They understand their responsibility, their role, and completing the mission, which is to get something on a truck and get it to where it needs to go on time. Right. And they're used to being part of something bigger than themselves. And so it is a perfect marriage. And so that's why Tenstreet, so we partner with not only companies that help veterans get hired, but support veterans, like give them experiences to get through PTSD. So we'll bring in our Veteran Ready Summit coming up the week of December 13th. In DC at the American Trucking Association's office. We'll bring in carriers, a couple hundred carriers, but we'll also bring in speakers that have relevance to different aspects of hiring veterans. And one of the most phenomenal things I heard last year, and I hadn't even thought about this, is it's not just enough to support the veteran, you got to support the veteran's family.
Yeah.
Right? How do you support and the thought was, how do you support the veteran's wife, husband, children, while that veteran's on the road? And that's just having those type of discussions and collaborating with people that have a passion for veterans and for trucking and different perspectives is so key and so valuable. And so, but then we also bring in veteran truck drivers. Fastport gives away a brand new rig to a veteran driver every year.
Really?
Yeah. And so it's a phenomenal thing. And that's a life-changing deal for that veteran, right? So companies are able to put their driver forward and give the history and the background and why their driver should be considered. And that's going to happen up in DC. It happens up in DC during the Veterans Ready Summit every year. So it's just a phenomenal opportunity. But veterans are, there's no doubt that we have a driver shortage.
Yeah.
But this is what I normally tell people. If you're trying to do it the way that you've always done it, then you definitely have a driver shortage. You've got to transition, you've got to change, because it is just a different world. And drivers are literally in the driver's seat. They can quit today and have a job by the end of today, because they're in such high demand. And they're not stupid, they're aware of that, and they know that. So you've got to not just hire them, you've got to be able to take care of them in a way. And then the other thing is the number one issue for drivers is communication. They want to be honestly, consistently communicated with so that they know what's going on. And veterans are excellent at that. And that's another thing that drives veterans into trucking. When they find a good carrier that is able to provide that for them, then they're going to be there for the long haul. So you're going to get a better driver and you're going to get someone that's loyal to your company. And those are two very important aspects when you're looking for a driver.
So just changing gears, if I may.
Sure.
You work in the trucking industry and you volunteer as mayor of Farmersville. I mean,
yeah.
Okay,
So in Texas, we there's different types of cities. We are a strong city manager, city council form of government. So we have basically the CEO of our town is our city manager. And trust me, I wouldn't and you wouldn't want that job. Okay. So basically our role as a mayor and city council is to do the ordinances and those type of things, but to support our city manager and city staff as the voice of, as an elected official of the people of the town. So part-time, I get $50 a month, So that's going directly into my retirement account. So I'm
all right. You're all set.
Yeah, I'm set. And then Tenstreet, actually, before I even ran for mayor the first time, I sat down with the powers that be inside Tenstreet, and I said, look, this is what I'm considering, and I won't do it if there's any qualms, because I love my job, and I want you to understand my first priority is my job. And they said, not only will we allow it, we'll support it. And so the support, the flexibility they give me, in my role as part of the industry relations team, to be here for city council meetings on Tuesday night, because I travel quite extensively.
Sure.
Across the nation. Without that type of support, I couldn't do it.
Well,
but it's been very rewarding.
I'm curious, what from your Tenstreet role and professional experience translated into, the governing side of your life? Was there any carryover, or were there all new skills? I'm sure some of it was new, but was it all new?
Well, I didn't know, I'll just be honest with you here, I didn't know very much about how a city was run. So getting into it, I started learning tons of things. And I am, if anything, I am a consistent learner. I love to learn new things. And so that's one of the things that floats my boat, is learning new things. But really, so my history, I'm a servant at heart. I was in ministry for years, pastored churches, took care of people, and that's what I had a passion to do. So I'm a shepherd. I'm a server. I want to make sure, I'm 6'6", not quite 300 pounds. So I'm a large man. I'm a protector.
Yeah.
I've never been in a personal fight myself, but I've protected other people from bullies and those type of things. So I serve people. And so that's really, I think, is what was in my heart when people started talking to me about becoming mayor here in Farmersville, because I'm not a politician. I have my beliefs. I have my, things that I stand for, and I'm not going to back off those. I'm not going to be hateful about it, but if you state your opinion, chances are I'm going to state my opinion. And I honestly, I'm not interested in getting reelected. So, but I'm only interested in doing what is right for the city of Farmersville. And not everybody agrees with that, right? So just the sales aspect of what I do for Tenstreet and representing the company through industry relations the way that I do, I'm good at reading a room. I'm good at having conversations, putting emotion aside, and dealing with logical reasoning and facts, and making a good quality decision and leading people to a good decision, right? So I think that would be, as far as what I bring in from my professional life to being an elected official here in Farmersville.
Well, if I may, and respectfully, please, understand that, if you have that perspective about your role, what role does your faith play in, being that shepherd, being that leader professionally and at the city level?
So, when in 2019, at the end of 2019, people started coming to me saying, "Hey, you ever thought about being mayor?" And I'm like, "No." So I had about 30, 35 people over the course of weeks come up to my point where my wife says, "Look, do you think we need to talk about this or pray about this?" I said, "Well, I'm definitely not going to pray about it, because if I pray and I get an answer, I'm stuck." So I've got a dear gentleman. He's a retired Baptist preacher out of Winsboro, Texas. His name's Dan Hubble. And when he retired from the Baptist church, he became mayor of Winsboro. So I drive out to see Brother Dan and sit down and have a talk with him. He's like a mentor to me. And I start telling him, and he just starts laughing. I'm telling him what's going on, and I'm distraught because I don't want to do this, right? And he just starts laughing. I said, "Brother Dan, why are you laughing at me?" He said, "Son," he said, "let's just cut to the chase." And this is why Dan is one of my mentors. He just bottom lines it. Here's the deal. He says, "Look, son, He says, you can obey and suffer the consequences, or you can disobey and suffer the consequences. Now, what do you want to do? And I said, obey. He says, I thought so. So it really felt like it was something that I could do, and pray every day that God give us wisdom and grace to handle these precious people in this town, because you really only get one shot to really lay the foundation for monumental growth in a city. And this is it. We're in it.
Yeah.
And so I know nothing about city building, but when people start hearing the sound that you put out there, and they hear the passion that you have for this remarkable place, this historic place. Farmersville was, in the early 1900s, the most affluent town its size in the state of Texas, and the third most in the United States. And so it was quite a unique town. It was one of the first towns in Collin County to be established. And so it has a significance, I believe, in its location and in its purpose. And we're just trying to tap into that and have passion and do the best that we can do. But people recognize that, and people with expertise. 2 days ago, I had a lunch with one of our primary landowners, and who happens to work in real estate development. And he's just a wealth of knowledge about, who's who, developers, and then I talked to him. I said, well, you need to be on our economic development board. Would you be interested in that? He's like, yeah, let's talk about that. So it's just really, my servant leadership, Travis, is getting the right people around and allowing them to function in their expertise and collaborate together to do what's best for the city.
Well, I think that's very relevant to, the veteran experience. We serve, we lead, we get out, we have to learn to lead and serve in different capacities as, new civilians, or even, older civilians, if you will. So I think there's a lot of lessons that you just impart on us that we can, take and apply to our lives. What's it like when in your town, in Farmersville, when you see the wreaths going out on these graves of people who've served our country, and you watch the people of Farmersville take that moment and honor those who, pay the ultimate price?
It is just an addition to, Travis, what already exists here in Farmersville. So being the hometown of Audie Murphy, having Audie Murphy Day, Veterans Day, and just, the overall reflection of the town regarding the honor they have for veterans, bringing in Wreaths Across America, it was almost like a no-brainer. It's like, yeah, and the only reason we didn't have it in sooner is that it took a little while for us to hear about and find out about it, right? Sure. So, but the people wholly support it. I mean, Veterans Day. So we have almost 340 veterans, one that dates back to the War of 1812, that's in our cemetery here in Farmersville. So Veterans Day, we went out, and what we do is we put flags on the markers of all the veterans' graves. And then during wreaths, they're easier to spot because they have the flags on them. So then they're able to go and say the name and put the wreath down and say thank you for the service. So the response has just been phenomenal. And we're actually having discussions about what we can do with Billy, who is our director for Wreaths Across America. What can we do to go to other municipalities around us that don't have Wreaths Across America there, and just really focus on Collin County and expanding it as much as we can inside Collin County to make sure that all these veterans are honored and not forgotten. So that's, I think, the next step for us is that, because the response has been so overwhelming. And again, it's not just, the elders that live in our town. Our kids, our young people are getting involved in it. They're seeing the value. Moms and dads are bringing them out, to be involved as well. And so that's really, we, at the Farmersville Heritage Museum, they bring in the 5th grade every year and take them through the museum and teach them about Audie Murphy and the history of the town. And, you know, the kids love that. So we're taking the teach aspect of Wreaths Across America and really incorporating that, and then having the mobile exhibit here. So there's always something going on. Literally, we have an event every month downtown. And, you know, it's just full of patriotism. It's full of honor for those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice and given of their lives to make sure that we live in freedom. So,
well, this December was really special because it's my first year being fully part of Wreaths Across America Radio as Oscar Mike Radio. You know, Jeff Pierce put together, you know, our introduction. And so I just want to thank you for coming on and talking with me. And it sounds like, you know, this is what veterans really yearn for, where people who maybe didn't serve, or moms or dads, will teach those younger generations about, you know, how we got to the country we are today. So besides that, what else is next for Farmersville? Is it a good place to move? I'm sure it is, and set down roots if I'm getting out of the military.
Yes. So, you know, we had a superintendent come into our ISD the same year, 2020, that I came in as mayor. And we sat down and talked, and we were of similar vision and purpose. And the ISD has just done a phenomenal job, growth, you know, and that's critical for the development of a city. Collin College is in Farmersville. They actually run the CDL training program out of the Farmersville campus.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So having Collin College, Institute of Higher Learning in town is important, but we're just beginning to grow. Now, right now, tomorrow night, actually, well, December the 1st, we have our opening ceremony of Farmersville Lights, which is, I started at the end of 2020, the first year I was mayor. We have a half-mile parkway off of one of the highways that comes into our red brick street downtown, right? And so it was just such a crummy year. And I'm just throwing out the idea, it's like, let's string some lights up on the parkway, because it's COVID, right? And people could stay in their cars and drive through and have it. So long story short, we had a CBTX, Commercial Bank of Texas, that was right at the entrance of Highway 78 and Farmersville Parkway, and they wanted to be the title sponsor for it. And so we raised about $65,000 the first year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is sort of like taking on a life of its own. So now we're in our 4th year, and it's just crazy what we have done to the parkway and into downtown. But it's our premier event of the year, horse-drawn carriage rides. I mean, we've got lights for miles, and our historic red brick street downtown, just phenomenal things. So I'm spending pretty much all night, every night in the dark out on the parkway, making sure lights are plugged in, they work, and everything else. So we're in the throes of a fantastic holiday season, but I'm getting geared up to head to Wreaths Across America and our Veteran Ready Summit in mid-December.
Okay.
So
one thing, I lived in Shreveport, Louisiana. That's where I joined the Marine Corps out of. I've been to lots of areas in Texas.
Sure.
Explain now I move up here to the Boston area, and, you know, they hear everything is big in Texas. They don't really understand it, you know, Bryon.
Right.
Just as we close down, explain to people what it means to be a Texan and from Texas, if you can, for me, please, because I try, but I never really was a Texan.
I have a dear friend. His name's Bill Enfinger, and he's originally he lives in Tennessee. I met him when he lived in Florida, but he came to Texas. He's a cowboy at heart and always wanted to be a cowboy. So he went over to Fort Worth Stockyards and had an experience there. So we spent some time with him, and he said this to me. He said, Bryon, he said, Texas is not just a state. It's a state of mind. And that's always stuck with me, because it's true. You know, we, in our minds, We're a little bit arrogant, a little bit cocky. I will admit that, no doubt. But it's just, there's just a different type of attitude, you know, in Texas, and we're proud. We're Texas proud. I don't know, you know, everybody says, well, we can always succeed and all that kind of stuff. And we have our own, you know, Constitution and all these other things. So that sticks with you. I just wish the Cowboys would do something this year in football. You know, you guys have been hogging it up in New England for years, and now that Brady's gone,
oh, I'll tell you, I moved up here. See, a funny story. I moved up here, and people were giving me Pats tickets because they were so bad. And then when they got good, it's like, well, I'm assessing a 30% upcharge on that ticket, and now people are giving me Pats tickets again. But Cowboys fans have hung in there, Bryon. They certainly have, and it looks like it might be your year. Looks like they might have the secret sauce this time.
We're going to temper expectations and just let it work out the way it works out, because I'm tired of being disappointed. But thank God for the Texas Rangers being with us finally. So that's something.
Well, Bryon, you're a busy man, and I just really appreciate you coming on here as a civilian and sharing with us this aspect of leadership and teaching and service, regardless if you serve or not. That's something that we as veterans need to hear and learn from. And then this whole story of Wreaths Across America Radio and how it's impacted your community is really valuable. I just appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
Well, Travis, it's good to meet you, and I appreciate all that you do, sir. And hopefully I'll have the opportunity to meet you in person one day and shake your hand. And
we'll make that happen. Look
forward to it.
Well, I can say here, and this is how we say it here in Oscar Mike Radio, Merry Christmas. I'm so glad you're part of Wreaths Across America. And we'll make that happen.
All right. Merry Christmas to you too, Travis.
Hey, it's Trust Oscar Mike Radio. We have Karen Worcester coming up next week to continue this series about Wreaths Across America Radio and Wreaths Across America. We're mission in flight. Thanks again.
Join us on National Wreaths Across America Day, December 16th, 2023. Each December on National Wreaths Across America Day, our mission to remember, honor, and teach is carried out by coordinating wreath-laying ceremonies at Arlington National Cemetery, as well as more than 3,700 additional locations in all 50 states, at sea and abroad. Join us by sponsoring a veteran's wreath at a cemetery near you, volunteering, or donating to a local sponsor group.
Thank you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 998 and press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line.